Hello and welcome back to the. We have Las Vegas, Nevada, mouthful. But I have here the amiga Randy.
Randy, yep. Like Austin Powers. Are you Randy, baby? You
Hey, baby.
know.
Groovy, baby. And this was just like an accident. We walked into each other. She came and saw and introduced her. And
It
I
was
thought
the
like,
mustache.
yeah, it's always like catches attention. And we have too much mustache today here. So tries the power.
It's mustache envy. I just wish I could grow it.
No, we had something like you need then like a unibrow Frida Kahlo style.
Oh yeah.
That's the equivalent for ladies. But so people, everyone watching, I was really interested because we started talking about her story, her background, what happened, and I'm like, this is an awesome story. And I asked for person, would you be okay to come and share it, and let us know what's going on, what are you getting here from the learnings, and a bunch of things that we were talking. So this conversation, I'll try to keep it short, but I have the feeling that it's gonna derail. So Randy, welcome. Thank you very much for allowing us to have this little talk with the people all over the world.
Yeah, no, hopefully my story helps, I guess. I don't know. It's just me.
It's an awesome story, I'm sure. But again, before we start the conversation, would you mind sharing with the audience who are you, what have you been doing, what brought you here,
um
all those
so I
details?
guess officially my job title is a staff now, software engineer. Primarily working within the Salesforce ecosystem and have been doing so within IT for the last 15 years at various companies. But really, I think what defines me is my drive to solve problems and to fix things, and just, that whole like from robots, see a need, fill a need, like just wanting to make things better for everyone around me. Because, like, if it sucks for me, it's going to suck for you. So let's fix it.
It's like it feels altruistic perspective, but you're trying to make life easier for you, for everyone around you, and it's great that you get this opportunity to do it everywhere, and the teams that you are collaborating with.
Well, I
And
think having that drive of like, just being like, I just want to change these things, and people naturally like, okay, cool, let's do that. You know?
and it's something that with when you were saying like, yeah, I guess my position is this, but I think that what you are like, more people helper, problem solver, all those, like, I know it's buzzwords, but it's important to clear that line in like, hey, don't label me. It's
Yeah.
like we
Don't
can
box me in, yo. I got too many things I like to do.
we are complex people in the organizations that we are working at. It's not just like a dev role and that's the only thing that we do. We have some other no one trick ponies in the organizations. And first, the conversation when we started talking, you mentioned that you had some experience with Agile and DevOps elsewhere, and that this is your first Agile and DevOps conference,
Yeah.
and that you were noticing some differences. Would you mind sharing some of those, your experience here at the conference and how it's been?
Well, it's been really great because there's been a lot of talk about, because like when you experience agile and DevOps within the company, it's like that's their brand of, everyone implements it differently. And so you're kind of like, oh, this is what it is, and then you get some flavor of it from somewhere else, and you're like, oh, but it's also this. And then here, it's really learning that it's not about doing agile, it's about being agile and having the team kind of really own it, and having that self organizing, self motivating, like they want to do these things because they can see how it's making their lives better. And I think that's kind of why I'm so passionate about it, because I can just see like it's just, the whole like keep it simple stupid, and just like there's so many things about it where it's like it just makes sense. And so like, I don't know about anybody else, but like during my day-to-day life, not even just at work, I'm like, why are we doing it this way? This doesn't make sense. Like there has to be a better way. And I think agile and scrum and what it can bring to the table is just that ability to iterate and to try things and have experiments and not be afraid to fail, because from failure we learn.
It's super interesting when I come to these conferences and I get these interviews. Generally, there's like a topic or a theme that gets repeated when the people that I interview. And here, this is the third time that we get agile is not like a boxed one size fits all solution. Neither DevOps is like a tailor suited suit that you need to grab what is adequate for you, what are the best practices, because we were saying so many other organizations are so obsessed with following the agile manifesto or the principles, or you are not scrum and the flavor here is this. And I like a lot your perspective on like, hey, it depends on your particular situation, what are you trying to do,
Well, I
right?
mean, like most things, right? That if you abstract it all the way up high, then the generalities, they can be agile, right? But then you have to apply it to the unique circumstance. But like almost everything can be abstracted. And I've come into some, companies or, teams who are like, oh no, we're too unique for this, or this won't fit for us. And it's kind of like, it's not, you kind of like, sure, but let me show you how, like, and then they come along with it after they see like their employees are happier, they're getting better work, better quality, no one's burning out because we're able to like protect the team and help keep people happy and keep the culture going, and it just affects so much. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that I like from the start of my career inside of corporations was I like was in an IT, help desk type thing, and like I could just see everyone around me slowly like just their souls being sucked away as they answered
No.
each phone call. And I'm like, how do I keep this morale up? I brought in my waffle iron and started making waffles. But like,
Cool.
like you just you see a need, you fix, you try to, and then people were a little bit more excited. Like we would do fun things at work, and it helped. We brought the camaraderie together. We did team activities, and like, sure, that company wasn't agile, but like I just always remember how I could affect change by changing a little bit of things and helping everyone else be happier, and then their work was better, and it's just showing that kind of like, wow, this actually is something that like, you know, helps, I guess.
And works. And when you mention like do not do agile or be agile, like you always remind me of the Matrix. Like there's nothing written of being the one, you just feel it, like being in love. Or
Yeah.
but there are some core principles. I remember the manifesto, team first, the people. And what would you say are like, I know that we were joking earlier, because being agile, many organizations things like is like because you do a daily stand up and you have a scrum master, then you are magically agile, and it's like wearing yoga pants and eating protein
Yeah.
milkshakes, then you are fit. Nah, you gotta work some other things. But what would you say are key things that a team should strive for to kind of like, I know it's not like a formula, but strive for and become truly agile, the one. And
I think the biggest focus is to at least for me, I've found that it's the iterations, the being able to have like the retrospectives that actually are meaningful. It's not
yeah.
just being able to bring out things that are wrong, put the elephant on the table, so to speak, right,
Hmm.
and like actually talk about it, and then have the culture where people don't take it personally.
Oh, that's
Right, because like so many times it's like they think it's a personal stab, but it's like, no, like we need to talk about these things so that we can all be better, we can all learn from this instance. And like sometimes it's like how you do it, like if there's a problem on the team and one person is doesn't want to do the change, sometimes you kind of like pick on somebody else with the thing that you want this person to change, and then that way they don't feel like it's a personal attack on them.
hmm
Or I don't know, but it's just that when people start to take things personally, then you're not going to get good conversations. You're not going to be able to actually talk about the issues, and you're not going to be able to iterate. and people are going to be afraid of failure because they're going to be afraid their job's on the line, and they're not going to be able to have that
Ooh,
room to
that's
experiment on, like, well, what if we try this? Let's just try this for a sprint. I'm constantly telling my scrum teams, let's just try this for a couple sprints. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to the way it was or try something else. But there's no harm or fear if this doesn't work. Oh well, it's not like someone's gonna come down and like, boom, we're all fired. Like,
you didn't follow
yeah.
the principles and squished with the no.
But I think it's the flexibility. Agile to me means flexible and to like try things and to pivot. Like something didn't work right, let's pivot, let's change it. And there's no wrong answer.
I always I feel like people when they hear agile, they relate it to speed, to kind of being fast and not
Oh, like,
documenting.
yeah,
Just the
agility. Yeah,
word agile, and they think that it's something fast. But to me, agile is you very well said adaptative or to be
flexible.
able to be flexible. I always think of again. I probably have seen recently the Matrix movies, and it's like dodging the bullets and moving a little like that, or like Spider-Man. I also just watched the Spider-Man movie, and it's like be that flexible to jump around and adapt to the circumstances.
Have you seen the
It's
Mario movie when he's in the cat suit?
oh yeah, now I'm a cat. Oh yeah, I'm a cat. Okay, what do I do now that I'm a cat? That's a very good example because based on your circumstances, before projects, waterfall is like this is the rule and you'll follow it, and we don't know what it will happen in 6 months. But now, supposedly with the sprints, you get feedback from production, the people. You're not burning down the people. That's another very important. That's
Well,
why the
then business also doesn't fear that, like, there's that phantom, like, oh, this is phase one, and we'll get to that in phase two, but phase two never happens. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to talk about it, but it just means it's a never going to happen phase. And so with the agile and the constant iterations, they start to have faith that we can release small bits and they will get the other things that they want, and they start to have better faith in, like, oh, there's a bug and it got fixed really quickly, instead of me having to wait 4 months, 6 months for the next fix to come out. And like, so it's like creating that trust and that balance between the organizations that like things will work, and like the breaking down those silos and having better communication and like camaraderie between it. Like, it's just, I'm constantly pinging random people, hey, I saw something slow, can I just get a few minutes with you to figure out like what is the slowest part of this workflow, and that way I can get better information to solve this problem. And like everyone's, sure, how can I help, instead of it being like, oh, well,
all getting weird and caught up. What's your perspective on some of those? Because when the practices, or how do you have you fixed or worked through, because you don't want to fix people, but when they get attached to things and they cannot let go or flow, what are your recommendations, or
You
how
mean
you
like when
help them?
somebody's like built something and then they have to like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's hard because like, they get, like you said, they take things personally, or it's their baby, and so like, for instance, in my workplace right now, they're reworking the entire support side of things, and this one girl on the team built that entire thing that they're working away from. And it's like she has to then sit there and take it apart for this new thing, and I can only feel like, how does that feel for you? Like, she spent 10 years of her life building this thing, and now they're
It
taking it
was 10
apart.
years, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Oh,
but like, it's for the better, and I think she's kind of interested in like seeing, okay, there's another way to do this, let's figure it out. But it is a difficult conversation to have, and to know what you built wasn't wrong, or know what you did wasn't inadequate. It got us to where we are today, but let's iterate, let's keep going, let's see what else we can do. Like, how can you help us build on that? You have all this knowledge of how you made this work, can we bring that into the new thing? All the learnings that you made, all of those, don't do this, don't do that, like, let's keep that information and iterate on it.
you just made me think of. I had a situation at home with my fiance, a few sweaters that I had them from high school, and she was like, "Why are you still wearing those things? They're all raggy." And like, I'm like, letting go of them. And it was something interesting, like using these techniques to show the people what are the advantages, or like letting go of some. Yeah, you worked that 10 years. My sweaters were even more older, and I'm like, they look ugly already, right? Like they won't fit. They were so in when I bought them and were cool.
You
But this,
didn't make a quilt out of them, maybe repurpose it into
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
totally. They were good mops, and some of those things.
They went to the car garage. They're other rags.
No, not necessarily. Well, donations, and there are some other people that I hope got very good use of them. But that's important to kind of, and I always, Frozen, the,
Yep.
the movie, let
Let it
it
go.
go. Yeah, it's important.
Don't hold on to it. Just let it go.
It's key, and on Agile, and especially, and I think that's one big principle I always say, like, you got in your mind, in your planning, your features, 10 features, and you're working so hard on one, and you realize your customer do not need it, like it, whatever. The key in Agile is let it go and start working on the one that they like, that they.
It's still pretty hard, psychologically, you've spent time on something, and then to see it not go through. I mean, you need to mourn that. You need to allow yourself to be sad about it, but then move on.
And even organizationally, I, I I don't think of a boss right away like, oh yeah, what you were working the last month is going to the trash. I'm fine, just throwing that budget out. And like, I don't think many organizations will be happy with that.
And
But
but I think even with anything you do, right? It's learning. You've
oh yeah,
learned something from that process, whether it worked or not. Through failure, we learn.
you learn that it doesn't work. That's good learning. That
You learn that people didn't want a square tire for their bike wheel. Like
yeah, and as hard headed as a team or leadership wants to be, yeah, if it doesn't work, let's put on something else. Don't exceed the pressure on your team, your developers, and everyone in the agile or your squad or whatever you want to call. It's important. Those burn downs. Some bosses like, yeah, we don't have any limitations. No, the fixed deliverables. Let's go crazy. Nah, because people go crazy, literally go crazy, and you don't want that.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the best thing to keep in mind is that control is an illusion and change is constant.
That's it. And I think that's one of the core principles of agile. Change is gonna be constant. Be ready to be flexible for that change. It's mind blowing.
Well, I mean, and the problem is that we've been working in a waterfall thing where to get any change, it took years, and there were Gantt charts, and they were all kinds of just like, I love that one meme where it shows like what the product what the business wanted, what marketing sold,
Oh,
and then it's like, different thing, and eventually you end up with like a string coming down from a tree when originally they wanted this grand tire swing with like,
a swing with a tree house and
yeah,
like a
all,
mention
all
of
this
the
stuff, and it's just not. And I mean, that's what waterfall gave you, because it was like top down requirements, and like, but now yeah, it's better to have that fast iteration and the constant changing, because like a month can go by, and what business needed a month ago isn't going to be the same as what business needs now. Imagine a year long change process. You get something out, talk about failure. Like,
you have a very good point. Recently, sadly, we got that situation. February 2020, we were working on some things. March 2020,
not the same things.
everything changed. And if you weren't good at all with the agile stuff, you were in big trouble. And the world is changing so fast. Our projects, our people, and that's
I mean, just think about the school systems. All the teachers had to learn
Yeah,
how to
that
do
one too.
remote learning. Like, I was trying to help my kindergarten, son figure out how to do Zoom classes while I'm trying to, push code to production. It was not a fun.
kindergarten. How old was he?
He was 5.
Learn to use Zoom at 5. At 5, I
mean-
was just hardly putting pegs in the Lego thing. So
Yeah, he can't read anything, so I had to be there to facilitate everything and do my job. And so it's like there's a lot of pivoting that needs to happen in life, and you can't plan for it.
that was agility, big time. And now that you mention your family, and I'm curious, and I was telling you earlier, I'm trying to support. I really dislike the situation that we don't have that many women in IT, STEM areas. Thanks, Paul, for the STEM reminding me. And in QA in general, IT. How has it been? Like, let us know a little bit about your origin story in
Well,
the
I
IT
mean,
world.
honestly, when I got out of high school, I was an art major. I thought I was going to be making metal sculptures and just living a free life of art and creativity. And then realized that, like, because of my living situation, like, I needed to go into college. So I tried, couldn't
Hmm.
afford half of it. So I ended up
It's,
dropping
it's
out
hard to
after,
afford
like,
that
I think
here.
a month or two. Like, I couldn't do it, I couldn't afford it. So I ended up just taking like a single course and I became a certified preschool teacher.
Okay.
And that's so around 19 or so, I was a preschool teacher for a bit. And then this is back on the East Coast.
Hmm.
And I got bit by a tick, I guess, at some point and got Lyme disease.
Oh.
And so I couldn't walk and I couldn't be a preschool teacher. So I'm like, well, what can I do? And my doctor was like, well, and by the way, I didn't have health insurance. So it was like very hard just to get diagnosed. But they're like, well, if you had a desk job, you could probably still work. So I found a job at Log Me In. Um, and yeah, no, I worked in their tech support. I did technical support, because I was pretty good at understanding how to fix things already at that age. Like,
And
you
you were
know,
good with people.
yeah,
I have a
yeah.
feeling.
I mean, tech support, herding cats, preschool, it's all the
Tech
same
support,
thing.
children,
Yeah,
and
it's the same.
kindergarten.
Well, so in Log Me In, they use a software called Salesforce for their support implementation. But it was horrible how it was implemented. Me being the rep, I'd pick up a call. It'd take me 3 minutes from the time I picked up the call to the time I was able to get a resolution on the ticket. And it wasn't because of me. It was because of the clicks, the screen refreshes, the all that you had to put in the contact information. And I'm like, this should be automated. Like, why isn't it when a phone call comes in, it automatically searches the system for a contact? It does all these things in the background. Me as the rep should not have to, as I'm typing out the subject line of what the person has a problem with, it should be auto searching and knowledge base to give me these answers. Well, so I asked Log Me In, I'm like, hey, can I try to improve this? And like, I had showed them that I was a photographer. So I was like, look, I'm making my own website and like, I know a little bit about code. Like, can I just give it a try? And so they gave me like
Pause. You got coding learning from building your website
yeah, I
on
just
your own.
wanted to build my own website. Well, while I was sick and I couldn't do anything while I had Lyme disease,
Cool.
I'm like just sitting at home. I picked up a book. It was actually the O'Reilly Head First series, the HTML, CSS.
Oh wow.
So I own like every Head First book now. I've read almost all of them. I love them.
Okay. Okay.
But so I was like, making a website, and then I got the job, and then so they let me on the job do half tech support, half trying to fix the system. And then I remember that like the ticket time in the beginning of this was 3 minutes. And then I was able to prove with my own work that I could go from getting around like 60, 70 tickets done in a day to well over 300 with my little
With
bit of
automations.
improvements and automations and background work. And like, I'm like, I like this. I like making the job of people around me easier and better. I want to keep doing this. While I was doing this, I was blogging about my work and my experience because that's what we did, Blogger, at the time. This is like
Share your learnings, share your experience.
2008 or so, that's what you did. And so I did that for a good 4 years and like just did like started with helping like revamp, the entire support side of Salesforce. And then I started helping with the sales side of Salesforce. And like, so I get an email out of the blue from Facebook. And at first I didn't think it was from Facebook. I'm a girl on the internet. This could be a total trap here.
Robots and trolls.
I think
and
it took me a good 3 days before I even responded to the email. But they were like, hey, we saw your blog and we'd really like you to come out and work for us.
Wow.
And I'm in Boston. They're all the way in California. And I'm like, well, what's the harm in interviewing? What have I got to lose? So eventually they flew me out and I went and I saw the campus. I interviewed. Whoa. They eventually hired me and moved me across the country. And that was just like, wow. And I went from making, I think it was like, really meager 40, 30K a year at my current job, like, cause that's.
And then the jump to California
And it was
salaries
like
and on
90K
Facebook.
a year. I was just like, I made it. Like, but even now in today's standards, that's probably not that much.
I mean, this was
2012 at
oh
that point.
yeah, that was with money those days.
But I felt like I was big pimping. I was like, well, I've made it. Like, and at the same time, I was terrified. Here I am starting this huge like Silicon Valley job. It's Facebook. There's all this pressure and like. But what was really amazing about Facebook is this is the first time I got experience with Agile and Scrum. They had daily stand-ups. The product owner, all the people were involved in the meetings. They were all focused on getting towards this goal. They had continuous, CI/CD. Like there was a lot of really good stuff that they had there that was just, to me, it was amazing. I think the most amazing thing was they had this search that you could do in the URL. You did a few letters, then whatever you wanted to search, and the entire Salesforce ecosystem database would bring up results for you about what it was you were searching for. So if it was like a bit of code or some documentation, and I'm like, this is amazing. Everything is right at my fingertips, like the stuff that they were able to do.
And it's great because you it sounds like you came in to Facebook and started learning. You were being paid to learn, which is also pretty great, and you were being paid well, so double benefit. And it amazes me how like you learn on your own, you started a blog on your own, you turned around like a difficult the Lyme disease situation into what I can do, what can I do with my life now, or be, I don't know, if productive or
Well,
for
I've
yourself.
always wanted to affect change. Even when I was a little girl, always wanted to make a difference somehow. Didn't know how.
What would you say as a little girl, and to inspire some other girls that are seeing us, that caused that spark on you of generating that change?
I
Or
love solving problems and like puzzling things out. And like, I think, I come from a family of divorce and a lot of like kind of like problematic family situations. And so kind of always seeing like my mom is a single mom, always seeing her struggling, wanting to help and fix it. Like I always had that drive of like, how can I help? How can I, not that a child should be thinking those things or doing those things, but I always had that like, how can I affect change here?
hmm,
Make this a little easier for my mom. Or even in school, I was sneaking into the dark room at the photography thing and trying to teach myself how to do the photography stuff. And
so you
like,
were curious and interested in that even from
I
a young
loved
age.
learning stuff, anything I could.
That's I mean, I understand how many of the successes, successi, what's a plural, uh,
Successes.
multiple success
Yeah.
that you have had. It's an awesome story, like from where you started and where you are at now, and all this evolution. And we're, I think, already went over time, right? Okay, so ramping down a little bit. First of all, for any other girl, lady, woman watching that needs some inspiration, what would you recommend? And I know maybe not only narrowing it, but people in general. But
No, I mean anyone really. Like you can do whatever you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. And it's not like, oh, I want to do this, I want to. You got to really want it, and you can achieve it. There is nothing you can't do. Like I'm rebuilding a muscle car engine at home because I've always wanted to. I was gonna go get my pilot's license and maybe go into aviation mechanics just for fun because why not? Life is meant to be experienced, and you can't do that if you're too much in fear to even try.
don't be afraid. There are so many awesome things to try.
And
What's
then, by the way, fail a bunch of times and keep trying because you're not
Don't be
going to get it right
discouraged. None
the
of us
first
are
time.
perfect. We weren't born knowing everything and how to do things. And you're a great example of how, I'm sure you had stumbles, that
Oh,
you
so
like broke
many.
stuff, and
I
uh,
mean, Facebook was great, but like I had to quit after a year because it was hard.
yeah,
But I
there's
learned a lot.
it's being in some of those environments. I never liked to be the smartest person in the room, but the dumbest, because you be fed as much as possible. That's your mind
You are always
goes
a
out.
student, never a master.
Yeah, that's important. And I would like to close with that quote. It's very deep. I think I hope everyone watching will get an inspiration with her example, everything that she has managed. Uh, what truck are you playing on? Just to share with the people.
My car?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 1969 Oldsmobile 442.
Okay. I'm very dumb at cars, but if anyone knows that, please get excited. I see some people super happy around that. And thank you
She's
very
my baby
much.
girl.
Look forward. We look forward for some pictures and some reports on how it's going. Speaking of looking forward and following up, where can people follow up with you?
I guess, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Randy Warner. I used to have a lot of Twitter, but I think I kind of,
Twitter is weird right now.
it is weird. It's very weird. And then I think LinkedIn's probably the best course of action. I also have an Instagram account, Limitless Red, because you can't put a limit on what I can do.
That's the motto. I love it. That's pretty awesome.
But yeah, so I'm currently working on family members right now. So
Not only baby with a motor and engine, but baby. So this woman is on everything. I'm super amazed. Super awesome example. Follow up with her. Follow up the example. Don't be afraid. Do mistakes. Live your life. I mean,
it's yours to live. If you're not going to push for it, no one else is.
yeah. If life is for living, and there was another story, but if you put on your
We could keep going, I'm sure.
tombstone, how many hours do you really lived? That's the key point. I don't remember. Yeah. So, everyone, yeah, this can go for hours. It's an awesome conversation. Probably we will follow up with you in another episode, or let's see.
Sure.
I hope to see you around in other conferences, and best of luck with the engine, with all the work, with everything happening. We'll be around.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you.
And everyone, we're not done yet. We have some more friends that I've seen around that we are going to be interviewing later today, and we have a closing walkthrough over here on the convention. Oh, we need to get more passport stamps if we want to be able to get something.
I
So
want to get that Lego set.
Oh yeah, if we ever get it, we know who wants the Lego set. Well, I'll see you later, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. And stay tuned because there's going to be more action. This is Agile and DevOps West 2023 from Las Vegas. And Señor Performo, out. Adiós. Hasta luego.